Thank you, Council President. Just a couple of questions, and thank you all for being here and spending the day with us for much of your day. Uh, I would just share my colleagues' dismay that this has happened and we are where we are, but also their resolve that we need to figure this out and update our policies and procedures, some of which you've done and some of which you're embarking upon to make sure that it doesn't happen again. I know when I ran for office, it was to say the number one role of a government official is to make sure your taxpayers' dollars are spent wisely and not used inappropriately. And so we all are very concerned about that. And I also want to second our council president's very active role in making sure the council has the staff and the resources that we need to do that and to be good partners with you as we try to oversee the almost $6 billion and tens of thousands of employees that are working on behalf of our residents here. Two quick questions, and I think this one is for you, Mr. Espinoza, related to the compliance unit that you mentioned in your opening remarks. Could you tell me a little more about, I think you said over transactions over 10,000, just what's the timeline for getting that up going, and then what's the mandate? Is there a more expansive mandate than that, or just could you give me a little more information on that?
Sure. The scope of coverage will be for, again, transactions that are exempt from the procurement process over 10,000. Payments below 10,000 happen within departments now directly as direct pays. As I indicated, we've been working on staffing up that unit. We've got the staff positions filled, and they're in the process of being trained up and starting to work and develop a work plan around it. And we expect to go live with the actual work plan and implementation of the workflow process, as well as initiating these reviews starting February 1st. We did make an announcement.
Would that include the reviews that were discussed by gentlemen here as far as looking, are there other areas in government where we're not sure about the processes and procedures? Is that totally separate?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
separate. That's internal
Okay.
audit. They'll be looking more enterprise-wide. Ours will be focused on, processing
Just
these transactions. Yeah.
The transactions themselves. Okay. And I'd love, I know, I'm sure GO committee and audit committee, but I'd love to be kept abreast. I'm just telling you individually of how that's moving along, and if there's ways, to Councilmember Rice's point, are the things we need to be doing to help you guys get that going in the correct way. Another question about email procedure. I know that there's something that stuck out to me was that there was, and we've heard a lot about emails in the last few years, but that there was a kind of misuse at a minimum of email by subordinates of the director of the office, the Economic Development Office. Do we have procedures in place to guard against that, or policies in place, improper email use, delegating your email to other people? Do we have anything in place for that? And yeah, go ahead.
We do have specific policies and procedures in place. There's an annual training requirement on IT security and things that you're not supposed to be doing and that are prohibited practices. Obviously, in this case, the two of the individuals involved at the more senior levels, for whatever reason that I'm not really clear on, ignored those. And in fact, there is a renewed emphasis starting February of highlighting security threats and practices and things you're not supposed to do with sharing your passwords and the consequences if we find out that you have shared your password with someone else, and the bad things that can result if you share your password, login credentials with someone else, so that there's like a monthly training that all county employees now are going to have to go through to help make that a reminder fresh with them.
Thank you. And the last point I'll make is just on the silos. The last question, you talked about how accounts payable, I think you, sir, accounts payable didn't know that there wasn't a contract, so they just did their job. They processed their widget in the way that they thought they should. In a government as big as we are, I would just encourage us always to be looking at how can we break down these silos within government so that we're being more lateral in our communication. And so this is kind of a charge to you, and I'm sure you're embarking upon this, but I think that was clearly one of the many breakdowns in the process, is that the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. Thank you.